Hi, this is the Lighthouse Cross. I belong to the older generation who had played the previous games and watched all previous movies. This review is about the latest Resident Evil movie, the final chapter, or hopefully what will be the final chapter. I saw the movie yesterday, and this review is based on one time seeing the movie, so these are my initial thoughts. Of course, this review is not a spoiler free one, so if you still want to see the movie, please visit us again later at the I2G after seeing the final chapter. To the right, I will have a bar that will indicate how many points this movie can get. The scale will be made of 10 possible points or 10 nemesis. Since Nemesis is the greatest boss in the series, he gets to be an indicator of points. There are a max of 4 points available to get from the first scene of the movie, 4 points for the character and story build up, reaching their climax, music, environment, and bad guy motivation. Finally, there is a point for satisfying ending and a point that I can give freely for diverse reasons if the movie deserves it. So let's start. And first, we will talk about the first scenes where there are 4 possible points here. And every movie in Hollywood tries to follow 4 simple steps on how to build their first scene. First, it's necessary that the first scene is content and short. You can't have a half-hour scene just to build up the story. There is a maximum of 10 minutes window to capture the viewer's attention, and this movie does that. It went right to the action. The start scene was short and right to the point. It left where the last movie had started, or at least almost where the last movie ended. For that, I'm giving this movie 1 nemesis. Second, the hero must be in a disadvantaged situation. So waking up here and being attacked directly by this guy makes Alice in a disadvantaged position. There is possible minus points here where Alice drinks from a lake where the monster attacks her. For me, the water feels contaminated, but that doesn't affect Alice at all. But since she has been infected with the T virus in the previous movies, I'm going to let that slip. So no minus points. All for all, it feels that Alice is in a disadvantaged position, so I'm giving this movie another nemesis. Although this movie doesn't respect how the previous one ended, Leon, Ada and Jill were with the Alice when hell broke out. Wesker was at the scene also. In this movie, Alice wakes up beneath some ruins, which might indicate that the battle was lost for both sides. She doesn't even bother to search for Leon, Ada and Jill, and they are not mentioned in this movie. The movie doesn't respect that. Wesker should at least be shown at the beginning scene, or at least be shown how he survived and returned to Raccoon City. For that, I'm taking back 1 nemesis. Third, it is important to include the main plot in the first scene. This part where it gets a bit tricky for most movies, and this movie doesn't get it right either. There are some subplots represented at the beginning, but not the main one. Not that there is an airborne antivirus that could save the world. So no points here. Last, the first scene must set things in motion. After watching 10 minutes of this movie, it felt like I would like to stay and watch the rest of the movie. So I am giving a nemesis back for that. So when it comes to the build up toward the climax, I love that this movie somehow could include what felt to be mini bosses. This is one of the strongest aspects of this movie, and the bosses felt that they were ripped off directly from the games. For that, I will definitely give this movie another nemesis. Another positive aspect in the build up is that the movie tries to include some older places to wrap the previous Resident Evil movies to this one. I love that Alice, for instance, returns to the laser room from the first Resident Evil movie, and I like to see her find one of the bags she left behind from the first movie in the control room. I don't know if this was made purposely, but for that I am giving this movie another nemesis. And this is where it gets all the positives. Everything else feels half satisfying. Um, the bad guys in this movie, I like Dr. Isaac. He was great. It felt like he had a motivation. The half satisfying thing about him was that his motivations keeps on changing from movie to another, but in this one at least he had a noir arc kind of idea, and according to him Earth was doomed anyway, so why not take an advantage of that and end it on his own conditions, while gaining power and money. And of course he used Umbrella to reach that. So all, he was great for this movie. He was a good bad guy in this movie. But when it comes to this guy, he was fucking unnecessary. Why even include him in this movie? He did nothing. He didn't add anything to this movie at all. His scenes could easily been replaced, made differently. When I finally thought he was going to do something, the Red Queen stops him with the fucking door. Yeah, this annoying prick from the Resident Evil games was stopped by a door in this movie. Even his death felt cheap. And his death makes somehow wrapping things with the Resident Evil games more difficult. So his death makes the Resident Evil games and the Resident Evil movies two separated worlds. As for the other characters in the movie, for me it felt like, who the fuck are these guys? They also felt unnecessary. Their main purpose was to be added in this movie just to die later on. And the movie tries to make us care about their deaths. But for people I just saw for 10 minutes, how could I care? Some of their deaths was predictable, and it was also predictable which one of them will betray them for Umbrella. So that felt really disappointing. Another disappointment was when these guys get chased by zombie-like dogs, and that scene was great actually. The dogs were jumping from everywhere, tearing everyone apart, but then the chase was stopped. The dogs stopped chasing the team after the team reached an entry point for a facility. I think it was called the Hive facility. That's when Alice turns around and says something like, I think they are afraid of what's inside. Here I was thinking, oh, there must be a great monster inside. There must be a big boss inside that will tear everyone apart. But no. I think the dogs were just afraid of the big fan, and that was really disappointing. So no points there. And another thing that bothered me a lot in this movie, let me show you. Bah! Sorry about that, but this is what it felt like watching this movie. It was set for predictable jump scares every 10 minutes. At the beginning it was good, but became eventually lame and annoying. For the music in this movie, the music did what it was supposed to do, not more, not less. But I loved the environment. It was brown overall, no sight of green, which might indicate that that things went south recently. Half destroyed buildings and a big hole where an atom bomb from previous movies destroyed Raccoon City. I loved how the environment was. It was brown in the outside world. It was bright and dark when it needed to be, and that was set inside the hive. But the outside world was always brown, and for that I'm giving this movie another nemesis. Toward the final scenes, the movie tries at least to wrap things up from the previous movies. And reaching to the final scene, I realized that this movie was actually on motion the whole time. There are a very brief moments of where you can stay to catch your breath, as the story was always set on go. The final boss for me was a disappointment. Ian Glen does a great job playing Dr. Isaac overall. In the final scene, I was expecting him to become something else. As all games and movies end, I was expecting a final boss, which we never did get. And the ending of which Alice releases the antivirus, the whole thing of her waking up and continuing her journey felt like, come on, just please end this story of Alice. Uh, Obviously not. Maybe we will have some other movies that includes Alice. I hope not. Um, but these are my feelings. I am done with the story of Alice. I was done with Alice's story from the beginning. Although there were some strong elements in this movie, the Trinity of Alice, the real, the clone, and the Red Queen, and making their story somehow vibe together. Um, thought that was great. The tank and the zombie army following it, that was awesome. I like that a lot. Um, uh, as all, this movie felt like it was just okay, and that's what my final grade indicates. It will get 5 nemesis out of 10 possible. If you enjoyed the last movies, I think you already will like this one if you haven't seen it. If you have seen it, um, I mean, you have built already your own opinion. As for me, the story of Alice has been a great disappointment since the first movie. Maybe that's me, maybe because I love the games more. I don't know. If you like this video, please give us a like. I will soon be making a video about the Resident Evil movies versus the Resident Evil games. If you don't want to miss that, then you can always subscribe to our channel. Please make sure to leave your thoughts about this review. It's always good to have some feedbacks. And if you have any questions, please write it as a comment and I will try to answer them. Thank you, and we will be seeing you in the next reviews. Bye.